Chapter 6, Inequalities in Economics and Work. From the book, Identities and Equalities, Exploring the Intersections of Race, Class, Gender, and Sexuality. This book right here. Citation. When my older son turned 18 a decade and a half ago, he received a letter in the mail from the Selective Service System reminding him in chirpy, upbeat language that he was now eligible to register with the service. The letter pointed out that for his convenience, he could register online and that within seconds, he'd receive his Selective Service number. They made it sound like he was about to win some cool prize. What he was winning, as you may know, was the right to be called into military service. The mission of the Selective Service System is to provide manpower for the U.S. Armed Forces should Congress and the President decide, in the event of a national emergency, that a return to a military draft is necessary. All 18-year-old men are required by law to register. Failure to do so by the time they turn 26 is a serious crime, punishable by a fine of up to $250,000 and imprisonment for up to 5 years. In addition, registration with the service is a requirement for such things as federal student financial aid. See, stuff like that shouldn't be up to, because that's where discrimination can come in. You know what I'm saying? Because the judge may give you less of a fine and give me more. That's not right. Not right at all. So therefore, it should be, this is the fine, or it's not the fine. These are the number of years you get, or it's not the number of years you get. Why is that enabling of bias allowed in there? It's all a part of the privilege. You better bet it. Job training and government employment. And yes, I did say manpower. People identified as female at birth don't have to register. Ain't that something? So I wonder if these people who are transitioning are required to register for Selective Service. That's an interesting question. But trans women are. Okay. I guess wait. So that's the dude that is calling himself a girl, dressing up like a female, as if that was normal. They are required. So apparently they're not recognizing that. They like, look, we don't care what you say. You're a man. When you turn 18, before 26, you better be registered. Bottom line. Wow. Despite repeated statements 10 years earlier from the president, some cabinet members and various senators and congressional representatives that there would be no draft. I was worried when he got that birthday letter. Like many people in the early 2000s, I closely followed the military situation in the Middle East. Back then, the United States was struggling to find enough enlisted personnel to fight the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The military had enlisted personnel been forced to resort to drastic measures such as stop loss, heard of that before, which barred soldiers from retiring or resigning and compelled them to continue deployments after their tours ended. Talk about crazy. But how many of the elites have that happen to? Huh? And furthermore, do the elites even have to register for selective service? I'm going to have to ask that question to Google and see what I get. I've been getting some pretty interesting answers lately. It's more than just social media. Use that smartphone for learning to become smart. All right. This policy had the potential to force thousands of soldiers to remain in uniform for a year or more after their contracts expired. I anxiously wondered about how long it would be until the military situation was defined as a national emergency and the draft was reinstated. To calm myself, I tried to think about the situation from a more sociological and less parental perspective. But that only succeeded in reminding me of the inherent inequalities of conscripted military service. Historically, the socioeconomic profile of the U.S. military has never accurately reflected the population at large. As far back as the Civil War, for instance, if an able-bodied man had enough money, he could hire a substitute to fight in his place. Really? Wow. On the Confederate side, plantation owners were entirely exempted from the draft. Today, or more accurately, since the early 1970s, when the military became all voluntary, people of color and those who come from the lower socioeconomic reaches of society have been overrepresented, especially during times of high unemployment. Kelly, Clamp, and Segal, 2010. That has changed somewhat in recent years as the military has drawn more recruits from middle-class neighborhoods, Reynolds and Schindler,